Classic short track. That was a very, very, very classic short track race. So, man, I don't even know where to start. Martinsville produced another fantastic race. For the second season in a row, this fall race was fantastic. I think, in terms of overall races, I would give last season's a little bit of an edge over this one. But in terms of finish, this season definitely produced it. And instead of being a salty Martin Truex Jr. fan and making a race review yelling in the backseat of a car, aimed at no one in particular, definitely not, I will just, keep a level head and talk about the race. So at the beginning of the race, Kyle Busch started on pole. Clint Bowyer started second. They kind of settled into their positions. Hamlin started running down Kyle Busch, had a stronger, longer run car, got by him, and I believe it was Hamlin that won stage one, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been him, or it may have been someone else. I forget already, but someone won stage one. I think it was Hamlin. So then, in fact, Logano actually edged Kyle Busch for that second spot by about a bumper. More of the same happened. There was some bumping and banging throughout the field, some contact caution, some driver spinning. Larson ended up blowing an engine in stage 3. Tough break for him and all the Larson fans. They've had no luck this past year. Ever since he got eliminated last season, it's just been downhill for Larson. But I guess really the only thing to talk about is later on in the race. There was great racing all throughout the race. There was passing, bumping, and banging, comers and goers, you name it. It was just Martinsville wasn't as crazy yet. But as we got late in the race, we started seeing, some late yellows came out, some pit stops happened. Keselowski was leading, a yellow comes out. I forget what it was for already, but the yellow came out. And they all came down for pit stops. And Joey Logano's team did what they did all race long, did their service on pit road and got out in front, gained 2 spots on pit road. Kyle Busch came out second. Keselowski fell to third. I believe Hamlin might have been fourth, and I think it might have been Truex or someone else in fifth. So on the restart, Logano pulls away. Some drivers get down line, and Keselowski muscles his way by Kyle Busch to get to second. Now he's on the back bumper of Joey Logano, and this is where things start to get interesting. So this is with about 30 laps of racing to go. Keselowski cannot get around Logano. He's trying everything he could. The top lane was pretty good off the corner, which was something you don't normally see at Martinsville, but it was something that was actually really cool. Both lanes kind of worked depending on how your car was. And for Logano's car, the outside lane worked for him. He was just a little bit tight, so he said the outside worked just a little bit better. So Keselowski's still trying to get around. That ends up holding them all up there in lap traffic and everything. Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin all close into the back bumper of those two. It is now 5 cars for the race lead under a second. 5 cars under a second with about 20 laps to go at a short track in Martinsville. So since everyone closed in, Truex gets around Kyle Busch for third, then sets and Keselowski easily disposed of him, and now Martin Truex Jr. has about 10-15 laps to run down Joey Logano and get on around him, which looked like it was going to be very easy. Logano's car was falling off. Truex was the best car in the long run all night long. The big thing about that was he started at the rear. He started, I think, 33rd due to failing post-qualifying inspection. So he started at the rear. Jimmy Johnson started back there, but Truex made his way up through the field, and he was going for the lead now after starting 33rd, trying to win his first short track race in his career in his 78th short track start. So it starts to get even crazier with about 6 laps to go. Logano and Truex have pulled a nice gap over everyone else. Truex then starts to move to the inside, and they run side by side for about 6 consecutive laps. Truex at one point backed off to try and get in line, then went back down to the bottom lane, and it ended up with Truex ended up making that pass at the white flag. In fact, at the white flag, they were side by side, dead even practically. Truex had the nose into 1 and 2. Truex clears Logano. Logano then gets back in line. I actually yell at my TV, get in line, do a crossover or something. You're not going to win on the outside. So he gets in line. That ticket to Miami is on the line. He sees it. And you know what he does? He drives off into the corner, nails Truex in the rear, puts the 78 up the racetrack. They bang doors off the corner. The 78 slides, the 22 slides down towards the inside wall. And at the stripe, Joey Logano by about a tenth of a second beats Denny Hamlin, who was running third at the time. If those two had wrecked or spun or just gotten slowed a little bit more, Hamlin would have come through on the bottom lane and stolen it from them both. The finish would have been even better that way. But Joey Logano, with this win, punches his ticket to Miami. And man, oh man, this move has already split the fan base of NASCAR. It's already made Martin Truex Jr. unhappy. So Truex this season has had so many close calls in terms of victories, so many times where he's had a car to win or he's been passed late to win. You know, you kind of look back at the first Kansas race, at the white flag he was passed. at the second Daytona race, he was leading on the final restart. Look back at Vegas, at Richmond, where he had the best cars. The Roval, where he wrecked in the final corner. There were some races that Truex, he could possibly have about 7 wins this season, just like the other 2 of the big 3. But it ends up that he only has 4. I say only 4. I mean, that's a good amount. But once again, gets knocked out of the way in the last lap. But hey, that is short track racing at its finest. And in the words of that salty Martin Truex Jr. fan, bumps are never unjustified because rubbing is racing. Right, so rubbing's racing, but you may yell at Logano for what, also happened. I also really liked what Kyle Petty said about what happened. So I guess some people on Twitter start, messaging Kyle Petty, because obviously you message him before, he does the victory lap thing or whatever, the post-race thing, because he's obviously always on there. And people are like, oh, Logano, just another dirty racer, da-da-da. And Kyle Petty said this: fans want more short tracks. Fans want the bumping and banging of NASCAR back. They want to go back to the grassroots. And what we saw right there was the bumping and banging of old on a short track in Martinsville, Virginia. And some fans are like, what? He touched him. He hit him up out of the groove to win the race. He's not pure. Go watch F1 or IndyCar, where they have avoidable contact. Because if there was avoidable contact in NASCAR, that finish would have never happened. One of the best finishes of the season, in my mind, a top 3 finish of the season. It's ranked up there, Chicagoland and the Roval. And some people are like, well, he touched him. You can't touch another driver on the racetrack. You can't do that, even after he raced you clean for 10 laps. That is a championship on the line right there. Under this absurd format, of course you're going to hit the guy out of the way. That is your ticket to Miami. It doesn't matter if you finish last at Texas and finish last at Phoenix. You're automatically in Miami. You don't care. Go for the victory. And Logano did exactly what I think anyone would have done in that situation. Send the car off into turn number 3, hit Truex up the racetrack, and then bang doors off the corner, and he didn't dump him. That was another thing. People were comparing it to what Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott had last season. Denny Hamlin did go in. He didn't mean to dump Chase. He did dump Chase, though. He lifted the rear tires off the ground. Chase went around and nailed the outside wall. What Logano did here was a perfect bump and run, sent Truex up the racetrack. They banged doors off the corner. In fact, Truex may have turned down to Logano a little bit. That's really what got Truex sideways. Truex still ended up 3rd. It's not like he fell back to about 17th. Chase ended up 28th last season after he got wrecked. Truex ends up 3rd. It's not like it hurt him at all. The only thing it hurt was his shot at advancing to Miami with this win. So I mean, it's not like he did anything wrong. Logano, in fact, I think I'm surprised that move's not being praised as much as it should be. But here we are. People are a little mad over it, but hey, that's rubbing is racing, as it said. Bumping, you don't have to defend bumping. You can do a bump and run. You can do whatever you need. Bumps are never unjustified, as this Truex fan says. And now Logano is a talentless, I forget the words that were used, but talentless was one of the words being used. Yeah, great race overall. In my mind, a top 3 race on the season, a top 3 finish of the season. In fact, right now, I think I have the race ranked 3rd in my list. I'll actually run down the top 10 to show how NBC has had some of the best races of this season, and it's just been pure coincidence there, or they just, they've done a great job at broadcasting. But at number 10, I have Indianapolis ranked at number 10. It was a consistent race throughout, that, and they had a great finish. Loudon I ranked number 9. The first Richmond race I've ranked as number 8. The second Vegas race at number 7. And right now, I could tell you, Indianapolis, Loudon, Richmond, Vegas, they were some of the best races at those tracks in a long time. I think the last Indy race I was at was 2011. The last Loudon race that was this good, I don't even remember. The last Richmond race that was this good, probably 2014. The last Las Vegas race that was this good, I can't even name that. Number 6, I have the first Bristol race. At number 5, I have Watkins Glen. Number 4, the Roval. Number 3, I have the second Martinsville race. I have it at number 3. I have the second Bristol race at number 2, and Chicagoland at number 1. In fact, in the ratings, I did have a 100 scale. I have Chicagoland and Bristol both at 100. The only reason Chicagoland, in my mind, is better than Bristol is because of the finish. It had that exciting finish, but both races, in my mind, were near, if not perfect, races. This second Martinsville race, also a near, if not perfect, race. I have it ranked 99 out of 100. So basically, it's as close to 100 as you could get without it being 100. It had some points in the race where it was a little bit slow, and I think that maybe did knock it down a little bit. But overall, the race was so good. I mean, once again, Martinsville just produced a fantastic race. Probably not as good as the one last season, but the finish was better. And, I think that they can be compared to each other as, hey, it was they were pretty similar. I think the thing that gives the advantage over last season was drivers were more mad at each other last season. I think the racing action is just a little bit better this season, though. Once again, there was great racing action. In fact, I think the best laps of racing that I saw was that final run with Keselowski and Logano and the side-by-side for like 6-7 consecutive laps. I mean, it was some of the best racing I saw this season. So Martinsville, once again produced. In NASCAR, more short tracks. 3 words. More short tracks. Because, my gosh, you get a race like this, tempers are flaring under the lights, championship on the line, you have all this, beating and banging. That is what racing is. It's not about aerodynamics and these 1.5 mile tracks at Charlotte and Michigan and all that. It's about beating and banging, short track racing, and we need more of this. I hope that when that schedule gets an overhaul in 2020, 2021, whenever it is, that we add some more short tracks onto the schedule, or at least, something. One thing that's really been in my mind lately, even though I am a Pennsylvania native and Pocono is like a 45 minute drive for me, I have said, as of late, this summer just had in my mind, that Pocono Xfinity race should be replaced with a standalone Martinsville Xfinity race. Imagine that, because they did it back in 2006. I think that's the only reason Martinsville doesn't have a race at that track is because there's not enough room to fit all 3 series in at once. If Martinsville had a standalone summer race at a point where they could run it under the lights as well for the Xfinity series, that'd be great. And I think that's the only reason Cup doesn't have a full night race is because it's 2 dates. The first race in the early spring, it's too cold to have it at night. And now they have it at the fall where it's too cold to have it at night. I think if Martinsville had a summer race, late summer, early summer, wherever it wants to be, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Because I think that maybe early summer, because I really like this race in the Chase. I mean, it's one of the best Chase races of the season. It's one that I'm always amped up to see. Really, I think if I had to rank the Chase races that I was excited to see, Homestead is up there, Talladega, the second Phoenix race, the Phoenix race, Martinsville's up there, and then I don't really know, maybe something like, I don't know, that it seems like, I guess the Roval, because the Roval's just the Roval. But great race, once again. I can't say that enough. We've had so many good races this season. This season is really just one of the most underrated seasons in NASCAR as of late. I mean, at some points, I feel like it could be compared to 2016, 2014 in terms of the racing. The finishes have been better than I think both. I mean, we have 3 fantastic finishes, 4 make that. Austin Dillon with his last lap pass. We have this race at Martinsville, the Chicago finish, and the Roval finish. I mean, that's like 4 fantastic finishes that you can have over a period of the season. And we still have 3 more races. Who knows what could happen in these next 3 races? For all I know, Martinsville could get bumped down to number 5 because Phoenix, Texas, or Homestead could be so fantastic. But great race. Great job, Martinsville. Never change. I love that racetrack. It's my favorite racetrack. Thank you guys for watching. Martinsville didn't disappoint. We'll look forward to Texas, see how that goes, and we'll see who gets the championship.